if you want to remember something peculiar about them, it could be, their message that they presented, or it could be something that they spoke uniquely in an article or a report. You should always remember to pay attention. And if you always want to kind of learn from uh, what the person was trying to tell you, if you want to remember that, always tell them a story. And this is something which we industry people use um, quite a lot of times. It is the story. The story is what about a particular incident. It could be about a particular product journey, how a product was evolved, and so on. So that the story is important. Connecting with the audience, story is the most important factor. So whenever you're presenting, it should always seem like it is a story. So in this presentation, what's in there for me? So there's art versus design. So I will speak about what is art, what is design, and how they differ. And what are the career prospects that you can have for yourself? So my first question to you guys: do you get bored? Everyone gets bored, but you know, what do you do when you get bored? That's more important to answer. So if you get bored, that's a really good thing, because boredom will drive you towards something interesting, and that interesting could be anything. Like um, if you get bored, you would take a book, you would start reading, get to know little details about what you're reading. So it's again a story, and you would be fascinated by it. You would get deeper into it. You would get involved, and when you get bored, you instantly have the instinct to look for something else, something interesting. So I would say my mantra would be that you should be bored, and when you are bored, definitely you become more curious, because you want to know what you can do when you really get bored, or what is that other thing that you can do. So you have to be bored to be curious, and stay curious to be more creative, because it's only that curious instinct that will drive you further towards being creative. Like in the picture, you see that little girl like looking at that flower with a magnifying glass. You could definitely help, plug that flower and take it close to you and observe. So, but the smell, the color, the geometry of the flower, everything is kind of new, and it could definitely make you more creative with that curiosity. So, stay curious to be more creative. So, we come to this um, new slide, which is about art. So, what is art? Art is nothing but an expression of emotions through creativity. So, painting is the most commonly known art form. I'm sure that most of you guys are also, you must have learned some form of painting in your schools, or you might be, out of curiosity, taking up some colors, painting something, some expression of yours. You're happy, naturally you will incline towards colors which are more fresh, which are more livid. If you are sad, then definitely darker colors come out, and you can paint your expressions. So art is an expression of emotions through creativity. Art knows the creator. So art forms are definitely something which gives the creator an identity, like a particular painting which has a lot of colors. So the creator, whoever has painted that, gets to. I mean, he's known by that because he definitely, in his style of paintings, you can see the same colors do appear many times. So art knows the creator, whereas design, on the other hand, knows the user, because everything that is designed is for the user based on the need, based on the user's need. So there are some forms of art. As you can see, music is one of them, dance is one of them, painting is one of them, sculpture again is a form of art. There are other forms of art as well, like photography is also form of art where you capture beautiful scenery in front of you, and you try to keep it as your memory, a good place that you visited. You want to remember it. You take photographs. That's and not just photographs, just to remember something from your memory, but um, it also evokes certain emotions. Like if you take a camera and just go around on the street and randomly click pictures, you can um, photograph anything from perspective to human emotions to colors, shapes, whatever. So these are all forms of art. And design, on the other hand, is not art. So no, design is definitely not art. Design is more human, need based, I would say. So whenever there is a need which has been addressed by a particular designer, so it could be anything. It could be maybe a glass for people with Alzheimer's, because their hands, they always keep shaking. They're always trembling. So whatever liquid you're carrying in that vessel, it might spill out. So that kind of design is, you design a glass for them, and that design would be typically emotional design, but that is more human based, human need based design. So even a watch is something that it helps you see your time. Or nowadays you have smartwatches. You can do a number of things on it. You can read messages. You can track your exercise trainings, whatever. So, but when it comes to art, art is more of an expression. Like I said, it's more say to do with the person's emotions. Like it's completely up to his mood, his interests, or even his um, you know he would be a lover of certain colors. So that person would be more attracted towards art. So it's more selfish here. But on the other side, design is more need based. So it has to be. It cannot be selfish. It has to be for the other person. So So what exactly is design? I mean, there are many definitions, but the most, um, you know, the worldwide sought for kind of definition is design is a human-centered and collaborative approach to problem solving that is creative, iterative, and practical. So this is from a company called Brown, and they have a lot of good products that they have in their category, from toothbrushes to washing machines, and even vacuum cleaners. They have a sense of design that they have evolved all through these years. And this is the by far the best definition I could give you about design. The design is a human-centered. Like I said, its approach is always towards the other person. It's never for yourself. You could you know you feel happy, you dance, but that is only for yourself. You don't dance for the other person. Yes, if you involve somebody, that's a different story, but still it's more of an art. Whereas humans, we have certain needs. It could be emotional needs, it could be um, you know anything. It could be about a particular thing that we use in our day-to-day lives. So and it's not perfect. So designers usually tend to um, make that particular thing better through this approach, so through an approach of problem solving. So what is an idea? Like we always come with these terms, design idea, design idea. So what is an idea? So idea is a very resilient thought or a concept which is formed in the mind, and it often leads to understanding creative actions. So basically, it's the most powerful um, uh, parasite, I would say, living on planet Earth. So whenever an idea is born, there are several challenges to it because it's in within the frame of your mind. It's not out there yet, but as soon as you start involving more humans, you start sharing this idea, it kind of grows, and it grows into a better um, service or a product, whatever. Here's one. I mean, I know that most of the young generations, they are attracted towards an iWatch, an Apple iWatch. But how it started was something like this. It was not like a watch; it was more like a ring, and it would be synced to your phone. So you would see all the apps that you have installed on your phone right onto their armband. And these are some initial sketches of how they envisioned it to be, how this watch would look like when it's worn, when it's uh, you know when you're trying to wear it. So you pull open one side, you have a bending fiber over here which enables it to easy access to wear it, and you can connect it to your computer. There are some toggle buttons for volume, and you have a full screen over here where you can see all the apps and everything, and use it more like a phone which is like stuck onto your hand. So these are the ideas, but what you see now is a completely different product. So there have been iterations around inside um, of the organization. They must have tested it out. They must have built protos, and finally they must have stuck to the kind of watch that we now buy or we nowadays wear. So, but the idea started with something really cool, really fancy, and this is how it is. So this entire thing can give you know uh, birth to a variety of products, not just um, the app design, but also the product design gets influenced. Okay, so one is the idea, then what is innovation? So when you execute an idea which addresses a specific challenge or achieves value for both the company and the customer, that's innovation. So innovation is more or less a kind of a further activity when you kind of develop your idea in a way that it benefits whatever organization you are working with, as well as your end user, your customer. So this is one example. This is one really good example. I have seen this personally. So there's this company called Futuring in Pune. They wanted to solve the problem of this. um, space that gets taken by a lot of buckets and a lot of utility vessels that we use in our washrooms to something which was more or less space saving. And they came up with a bucket which had notches on each side, and you could stack one bucket over the other. So that is why the product is called Stack It, stackable bucket. And they have a Red Dot Design Award mention as well, which is a very famous design award. So this was a unique kind of design. You can stack when it's empty, as well as you can stack with water filled inside, and it reduces the corner spaces, which usually is wasted over here in circular vessels. And because of this corner, you can pour the liquid from one um, bucket to the other. So this was a human-centered approach. They saw what the problem was, how much space these vessels were taking, and to reduce it, they came up with a simple and clever idea. This is kind of innovation. You don't see these kind of buckets every day. Usually, we have these circular buckets that we go, whenever we go to DMart or anywhere else. Um, these are the most prominent or standard type of vessels that we get. But these buckets are kind of new. They are kind of fresh, something out of the box, thoughtfully done, and a well executed idea, I would say. Similarly, this is a very well known designer called Dieter Ramsch. He's a designer at, or was a designer at Brown, and um, he was quite famous for making objects very simple. At a time when electronics were not so um, so advanced in those times, 1950s and 60s. Everything was in its evolution. Computers were just in its infancy. Semiconductors and electronics were not around at that time, but whatever was around was in a very crude form. So this is a pocket radio, as you can see, and um, at that time he made it look so simple. These pocket radios were, not something of a trend at that time. People had radios, but they were very big and bulky. So he came up with this small, compact device where you can, switch your channels, and you could hear from these dots, which is a speaker. And the same idea, sometime later, Apple was heavily uh, inspired by Dieter Ramsch, his vision uh, for the 50s, and whatever he did in a very simplistic way, Apple wanted to do the same for its iPod. We don't see any iPods nowadays because everything is pretty much on Spotify, and you know, online streaming is the new trend, and not carrying music anymore in your pocket. So you see very few people, on a Discman or a Walkman, or even carrying these iPods. But even 2001, this became a sensation because of the idea that Dieter Ramsch had in for the 50s. The same idea was then, you know, um, applied in the 2000s for this device. And instead of the speaker, you could see a touch screen showing you a list of, uh, um, you know, folders containing your songs, or even the radio, and you could just play it through this device. So you could just swipe your finger over this region, and you could go to up and down, and even sideways to play music. This is a revolutionary device that was inspired from Dieter Ramsch's work. You can see a lot of other products that he has created, which look kind of more of contemporary design, but it was very fresh for the time that he developed it. In the 50s and 60s, when things were very ugly and bulky looking, he created really a sleek line of products So this was innovation during his time. The ideas were around, but the way he did it was the difference. So how do we innovate? When we talk about innovation, we have to start with simple questions. So always start with why, whom, what, which, when. These are the common terms that as a designer, you have to ask the user, because you would get a lot of clues, you would get a lot of insights into how to take the things, or a particular idea forward, how to drive it. Okay? So finding the right problem is innovation half done. This is something that we studied, or me as a designer studied during my time in college, that if you find the right problem, half of your work is done, or half of your innovation is done. So this is a mantra that uh, I think most of the people who enter design, the discipline, they they usually approach this and find some great solutions, um, including the people who are currently working for Apple. Um, One of them was Jonathan Ive, a very uh, famous designer who has developed a lot of products for Apple. The MacBooks, the Apple iPods, even your iPhones. So he also believed in this ideology quite a lot, finding the right problem. So he saw that people were trying to put a lot of data into a small phone. Particularly during his time, BlackBerry was around, which behaved like a small computer in your hand, but it wasn't simple to use. So Jonathan Ive came up with an idea that there could be apps inside your phone which can do a particular task. And in 2007, he came up with the iPhone, and that was a better product. That was more of an innovation ahead of its time. It was fresh, and it literally killed the BlackBerry as a phone. So iPhone was a revolutionary product. It was because of this um, philosophy that Apple came forward with the right product at a right time. Because they became the leaders of the innovation, because they found the right problem. That instead of making something complex, they worked on something which is simple, something which you can touch, something which you can visualize, inside inside the phone screen, the the apps or whatever that the user was engaging with. But also, we have to be careful to, you know, only find the right problems and not involve into things which don't even seem to be a problem. So, for example, this is a funny commercial. This guy is running and he's tired and he's just waiting next to his car. It's parked on a cliff. Another person is coming from the other side, and he sees that that person is trying to push his car, but that's not the case. He also pushes the car, and the car goes inside the valley. So there was no problem here, but you know, because he thought that he could solve the problem, he just went in and did the wrong thing. So we have to be careful that we only find the right problems. Also, we have to look for workarounds. There are many times, jugards that we see in our day-to-day lives. You see this picture. This is a small, um, I would say, cycle rickshaw for students, which he has done using a milk cart. So, but this is more or less a workaround, and this is not a fully designed product. Maybe he could design a cycle carrier out of this idea, but this is definitely not completely a design idea. Okay? This is more or less a workaround, and you can't call this design. So Jugaad is not design. Jugaad is more of a quick fix, and more or less it can trigger certain ideas, but you can't classify this as design. So how to identify what is the problem, what should be the approach, and how to solve it? It's simple. Always ask to identify what the need is and what are the constraints. So you have to do this with a bunch of people that you know around you who are having some issues with their day-to-day life, um, problems like anything. It could be moving around, or it could be um, the way they sleep, or it could be anything like So you have to ask these questions because they are the users, they are the persons whose needs are to be addressed. And then you have to go on to the next, which is the research. You have to research the problem, you have to identify the correct problem, and then gather as much of um, information about a particular problem. Then go ahead, to imagine or think of solutions that are possible, um, ideate or have an idea that you can bring to a paper from your mind. You have to plan, you have to sketch by selecting a good solution, and then take it forward to make a prototype. So once you have a prototype, you can show it to the user if it works or not. The user will, give you a feedback after testing. You have to test it as well to see that the prototype does work for the user. And it's a back and forth process. You have to give it back to the user to test, analyze, get results, see if it's good enough. If it's good enough, don't stop there. Try to improvise it more. And if it's really bad, whatever the idea was, it didn't work for some reason, redesign it. And this is a never ending process. It's cyclic. You have to go back to asking more questions, the when, the why, um, the what, all these things. Go further down the research, imagine some better solutions, plan again, you know, create a prototype, test it, and so on. So this is the design process, and this is what you're gonna learn for 4 years of design career. You choose design as a discipline for yourself, then this is the main uh, process that every designer has to go through. It's not that you sit around in an AC environment and whatever comes to your mind, you start sketching and eventually hope that it will become a prototype or someone will use it. Someone will only use it if they need it. So you have to be careful to find the need, research what the problem is, and then go on with the process. Like, you can just not sit around and sketch something fancy and imagine that it will be adopted by the user or the user will like it. That's not how it works. This entire process is the standard benchmark world over, whether you design something in India or whether you design something in Singapore or in Europe. or in America, doesn't matter. This process stays the same. You have to start by asking, research in depth, imagine some solutions, get ideas, plan that, sketch it, and then create a prototype out of it using certain materials, whatever is required for you to execute the plan, test it, improve it, and again ask. So there are various disciplines in design. In my college, my time, it was only two main disciplines, which was industrial design and communication design. So under industrial design, you have product design, you have furniture design, you have tooling and equipment design, you have toy design, just very interesting and not so easy because you have to think, from a child's perspective. So toy design, retail space and exhibition design, accessories design. So your phones, your earpods, your smartwatches are all accessories. So there's also a design discipline for that. Um, and then you have accessories such as jewelry that also comes under accessory design. You have interior design. Um, you know, uh, your empty home spaces can be made beautiful by involving interior designers. This is one good profession. It's around for a lot of time. The other disciplines are fairly new, but they are also equally interesting, and you can make a career out of that, definitely. Last one being automotive design. So it's more to do with designing bicycles, or it could be anything that moves from point A to point B. Um, it could be a car, it could be a bus, it could be a motorcycle, an electric moped, whatever. So my design field was this. I chose industrial design at MIT, and automotive design was something that was I was really fascinated by it, and I chose it. I did my specialization in automotive design, and today I'm working for a German tier two and tier one automotive manufacturer that deals with the interior of a car. So head-up displays or central console displays, steering-based buttons, and then we have the UX part of it, which um, we try to develop according to what the customer's need is or what the customer wants, because they have researched something and they wanted, uh, they can't design it themselves, so they give it to us, and then it's our job to design for them. So these are certain things that you can look into. It's a really exciting field, guys. You have a chance to um, make something really cool, and then um, you could be, the owner of it. Like I have a colleague of mine who also was part of MIT, and he is now the designer for Hyundai Creta. So you see a lot of Hyundai Cretas around on the street nowadays. It makes him really proud, to see that his design is now being accepted, being uh, cherished by customers world over. It's a design that is, he built upon a certain ideals. He visited, the Hyundai Motors lab in South Korea, and there he studied how, you know, what people in South Korea like, and based on those likes and dislikes, he did a lot of research, came up with some forms, and you see the Creta that is around is world product. Um, so such things really make us feel that we are part of something cool. Like like artists are celebrities, designers too are celebrities. Um, for for the public. Do see what fits for you, whether it's product design, whether it's furniture design. There are a lot of disciplines that you can choose under these two main disciplines, industrial and communication. For people who are who like a lot of graphical work, or something which is um, you know related to fashion, or something that you like to communicate using your ideas. So it could be a brand logo, it could be a signage to warn someone. So all these fields come under graphic design. Fashion and apparel design is something that we all know from a long time. Most people, or most uh, parents that I have met, um, with their children wanting to learn design, they believe that design is only about fashion design, but it's not so. These are the other disciplines that you can choose. Graphic design is something where you basically design high-end graphics for products. It could be a wine bottle, it could be just any graphic onto your paper bag as well. So that comes under graphic design, and it's a rich field. There are a lot of openings all the time. Fashion design is something we all know. There are a lot of brands which employ fashion designers. Some new collection comes out every summer, every winter. So apparel design is also related to trends. People have these jeans which are torn and all that. So these trends are basically put forward by fashion designers, apparel designers in the industry. And then when they launch such products, people are naturally attracted to it. They want to see how it looks. And eventually, when a lot of people start adopting these things, it becomes a trend. Similarly, you have textile design. So, you know, textile is not just, parda or bed sheets. It is basically more linked to interior design, where you kind of design or decorate a particular space using fabrics, using textiles, some fabrics that emit light. So, you can have your ceiling, designed in a way that can have a stretched fabric that can uh, be used as a diffuser, and light can come out of that and can look or make a space look really cool. So that's about textile design. And textile also is into making parachutes, making um, a whole lot of other things, just not sofa covers and these things. So don't feel that textile design is something very basic or very not so cool profession. There is a Ministry of Textiles today in India. So they have a program at NID. I don't know how many of you know NID. NID is National Institute of Design. So textile design is one field that they have been running for quite a long time, and they have created really good designers in the industry today that have been part of Bombay Dyeing and bigger brands like these, Fab India and so on. Then there is advertising and digital design. So you have your app design, which is now called digital design as well. But digital design also involves a lot of other things. Um, Whenever you have an ad playing, or something to do with cinematography, so that is also under digital design. So your VFX effects and advertising come under this. And there's branding and packaging design, which is also an interesting field because most of our products that we use in our day-to-day lives have a particular branding or have a particular packaging. And the most famous is the iPhone casing. So whenever you buy an iPhone, I don't know, many of you must have experienced, nowadays that the phones that we use, the packaging is also equally important to make a mark, in the sales. So a lot of effort is being taken to package the phone in a way that you feel that you're opening something special. Branding and packaging design is essentially those people or those designers who help the brand get its value in the market, as well as the user gets packaged to keep. Usually we throw away whatever packaging that we have, and we are focused on the product. But uh, companies like Apple or OnePlus, they design the packaging in a way that you tend to keep the phone as well as the packaging. You don't discard it. So it's more or less um, packaging design that you can see as your career. There's animation design, of course. You have a lot of movies that you see around on Hotstar and Netflix. So all these animators, they have animation design. It's a really hard working field because there's a lot of sketching involved. There's a lot of you need to know some 3D modeling design as well, which animation design that today's animation design requires. You need a lot of rendering. You need a lot of editing as well. So animation design um, is something that is evolving, and it's a working field. You have to really uh, make sure that you give your best. And then you have UI UX design, which is more or less with your apps, how they interact with the user, or basically the HMI. It could be even your ATM machine. So in that ATM machine, how the UX is or the UI is designed for the user to experience and interact with it. So all these things are under UI UX design, and this is also a booming field. There are a lot of jobs for this. Um, Actually, there's jobs for all of these, but there are some fields which have more jobs available in the market, and you should definitely make sure that you see where your inclination is. Like, if you're inclined towards researching about toy design, then definitely you should take up toy design. Or if you are good with, you know, making art forms, sketch something really simple and nice, um, colorful, or graphic-y, then you should go for graphic design. If you have a inclination towards advertising or even product design, all these disciplines are really cool. And I myself, being an industrial designer specializing in automotive design, I have experienced that there's a lot to learn, and a lot of challenging projects do come your way, where you get a chance to showcase your skills and your ideas, and you really become a celebrity for your company, or even for the user that you have designed something useful. Then there are some bad design examples I want to share over here. When you design, you have to really be careful how not mess up the design. You know, for example, if you see in this case, The buttons are like so like -11 and -12. You know, um, I don't know if there are so many floors underground. I just know that usually your elevators, they have underground or maybe a ground floor or a podium. Even. But you don't have -12 or -11. So it's really confusing for the user, even though it's designed by a well-known company called Otis. They have really messed around, how the user would follow a particular um, pattern here in selecting the buttons. Also here, when you have customer car park, the intention is that it's on the right, but when you see it, it's confusing. Some might even get confused that it's on the left because of the proximity to the arrows. What these guys could have done was just have a partition of white line in between, say deliveries and one arrow, and that's it. And customer car park and one arrow. You did need not know, show 5 or 6 arrows just to show which direction you want to point it in. So they have messed up with this board, even though it looks clean and nice and colorful, modern, contemporary, whatever words you can think of. But in the end, it's still confusing. See, look at this product. It's a key, but they have tried to make it look like a doorknob. So eventually, when you are holding a key, you have all the 5 fingers latched on to that key, and then that's how you open your locks. But here they want you to just open it using 2 or 3 fingers because they are trying to make this look like a knob, and just doesn't work. Like this is totally a bad example of how you should not design a key. You have this floor and the drain is above the floor. So this is again a bad design example. How will the water flow out of this? Or here you have a stair which leads to nowhere. A chair which has a bump. How are you going to sit on this? If it was the other way around, you would still find yourself comfortable, but this is too uncomfortable. So these are bad design examples. So when you are sketching, you have to be mindful of, try to sketch or try to visualize only those things which are possible to develop as a prototype. Because all these mistakes, even though they are done, you know, with a good design, um, maybe a research, but the execution has somewhere failed because the designers have not taken um, due care of how it would appear. They have just done it the way they thought that this looks cool. You print something white onto orange background and show some arrows, and it would be very very easy for anyone to understand. But no, it's not so easy if you see it from the eyes of the user. Then there are some good design examples. So um, these are the popular cars. So this is a Range Rover, a very meticulously designed car, which is also known for its safety, for luxury. Then this is a typical Shell logo. Must have seen Shell petrol pump somewhere nearby on the highway. So this is a very iconic, good design example, which was designed by Raymond Levy. So Raymond Levy was famous designer back in the 30s and 40s, 1930s, 1940s. And when the company was formed, the logo was very, very unusual, very different. And the job was then given to Raymond Levy, was product designer, a railway locomotive designer, a car designer, and he took up this challenge, and such a beautiful logo for the Shell company came up, which is actually a shell. Look, when you look from the top, and the Coke bottle is also um, his design, and these designers are still remembered because they came up with these products which made a difference, not just to the brands but to the people who use them. And similarly, you have these packaging. So these are contain fruit juices. So just by looking at the packaging, you would understand what fruit you are picking up for yourself and enjoying the drink. So these are some really good design examples I wanted to share here. Same for the packaging that I was talking about for iPhones. So it's stage wise, like, in that box, if first is your phone, once you lift that phone, you have small, um, instruction manual, I would say. And then below that, you have all your accessories for your charging cables, for your earphones, and so on. But they are all meticulously planned, packaged at the same time that you don't feel like throwing this off because this is still useful in some or the other way. That is why they charge us so much for such products, because um, it's not just some holistic intent that they came up with, you know, to have a white box for a white phone, or colorful boxes, but they really thought that the user should keep their phones neatly back again inside the box. So they designed it in a way that it would be useful around for the user long after the phone is even replaced, or even a new phone comes in its place. But this will still be more or less useful for him for his next phone. So everything around that we see is designed, and you see the button over here to switch off, start, or pause the engine. All these buttons, everything is designed with an intent. Everything is designed keeping the user's need in mind. So, and how do you, um, if you see, it's not just man, it's also nature that designs a lot of things. Uh, Nature employs its own geometry. If you see a flower, they could be in a pentagonal shape, or form such as the snail shell. So that is also in a way following the golden rule. So nature also has a certain geometrical beauty to it that it employs in everything around it. So nature is the best designer, I would say, and humans we sometimes even mimic nature to design things. So everything is designed, and you have to be curious to see how it was designed and how a particular um, need can be addressed by doing research, by sketching, by ideating further, and even making some good prototype. You would never know. Sometimes an idea can come from anywhere. Um, could be even as simple as designing toilets for people who have constipation problems. So you just have to observe a lot. You have to sketch a lot. You have to question a lot, and that's how beautiful things are designed. This is how design feels like. Everything is a mess in the beginning, and so on. When you start analyzing it, when you start collecting more information, you do more research, in-depth research, you involve, the users around you. You start getting some kind of clarity, and the um, the mess that you can see in the beginning is then cleared out, and you have a linear or a focused way of in design. So whenever whatever you are researching about, whatever it is that is, if it's new, you know you start with research, and as you move forward, you go in deep, you understand a particular problem, you fix you know start sketching for fixing those problem areas. You see that the process becomes simplified, and uh, that's the beauty of design. I mean, this is exactly what the first man who saw a log of wood rolling around from a slope eventually gave him a thought that a log can definitely roll, and I can carry something heavy onto these logs. And eventually he researched more. He saw that I can make it smaller, I can make it thinner. Eventually bullock carts came, and the wheel was invented. So things became simpler. Now we are in the modern age, and we see tires which are flexible. So you don't even need a suspension in the future. Possibly, the tires will take care of all the bumps, and so on. So from that wheel to the first wooden log to the wheels that we are using today in our cars in a contemporary way. So that is the result of this evolution. And um, yeah, it's all because of this curiosity, this questioning. So my suggestion is that you should question everything, whatever you see around, and that is the beauty of design. Like this is how you evolve things around you. And the best part is that now you have an institute in Solapur. So this is this place is teaching this very essence that I have learned throughout in my design journey in MIT. So I think you should all take a look at how this place can give you the right platform, whatever your inclination, or um, whatever is that you want to do when it comes to design. So whether it's designing toys, or whether it's some interesting app that you want to develop, um, uh, you have an MIT in Solapur which can definitely help you with it. It definitely helped me, and today I'm on a path to a successful career, all because of these learnings that I've just showcased to you. So thank you.